Hello, it is I, Rob, once more here in the lair of OmnusI with another State of the Dungeon address. This State of the Dungeon address is for November 16th, 2017. The game is 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons and the Princes of the Apocalypse storyline, Greyhawk edition. The players are in Hamlet. They have successfully returned after a foray against the fire elemental cult and are recuperating. They survived an assassination attempt the prior session, which caused another stable boy to die. They're not doing very well in stable boys. And now the group is having to deal with a very deliberately planned attack. They were basically jumped in the street by a combination of illusionary foes as well as desperate cultists to see them dead or at least crippled, which all completely went awry. The villains kind of thought that they had game planned around the party's strengths and were going to cause them to waste their resources when the person who was the linchpin behind the assault got killed by a fluke. The illusionist who had apportioned off some of her life force to make the trap tangible was on the receiving end of a lightning bolt thrown into the inn where she was watching the battle by Geth the sorcerer. So, when we started, the group was down Otto. His player did not show up and will not be joining the group anymore. So we are down to Terran, Glim, Abor, Geth, Oric, and Glob. So they're picking up the pieces. The goblins, actually the one who didn't look like the guilty party, because there's a large smoking hole in the inn, a couple of dead bodies, a couple dead bodies outside, and the guards come running up. Sure enough, there's the players with blood on their weapons and, rolling bodies. Of course, they didn't find a great deal, except they did find identifying placards on several of the assailants. Interestingly, one of the assailants was of the fire cult, and the bandits were of the earth cult. How do people have long hair? I don't understand it. So anyhow, they knew that they were being attacked in earnest after what they did with the fire cult. And they had to explain to the constables that they weren't responsible for this. Tough to pull off, considering, they are the ones who now have somebody who can throw a lightning bolt. So they were told not to leave, that the constable wanted to run an investigation on what happened. Although the heroes had so far shown that they were generally amenable to helping out the town, now it was kind of a prove it or else kind of thing, especially since one of their number, Abor, had already killed a civilian, the first stable boy, due to some shenanigans. This was on a bigger scope, considering some of the people who were killed were just common civilians, including the replacement stable boy. Weird, but I rolled percentile. He was one of them. So anyhow, they explained the situation and everything, but they went back and they, did what they wanted to do for the rest of the night. For the most part, drifted back to bed. Terran was as busy as he could be, going around and, seeing what they could do there in the town, but not much. Also, Glim and Abor were told that there was a big holy day of Clangadins coming up, Axe Day, which was a day they celebrate their service to the citizenry and the common people by going in front of it in a public place and bragging about their deeds, so that their deeds are not forgotten. That's important for followers of Clangadin. So at any rate, they've got to stay in town for a while. The next day, Terrence goes around and he tries to make recompense for the people who were killed by the blast. There was a milliner's daughter, who he gave them like 50 gold, and they were happy. Obviously it was a crushing blow, but the party meant well. The stable boy, they found out that the family had like 13 kids and barely knew that he had died. It was, a little more lighthearted. The stable boys don't end up doing well in this game for some reason. Sorry, this is the third stable boy. The second stable boy had blown up the day prior. So, third stable boy. The job is cursed. And they always center around the party for some reason. So, the party did their thing. They also went with the constable and found out that the woman was a spellcaster of the air elementalist cult. By process of elimination, they just put together all of the symbols that they knew, and that was the air cult. Although he thought it looked like a carrot because it's an inverted triangle with a line over it and two like wings coming off of it. Kind of looks like a carrot and abstract. So they found out that, there were more cultists. She had a symbol, and they matched up all the other ones. So now the constable is able to put a few things together. The party is putting things together too. Their buy-in was pretty good. They definitely don't like this cult, and they do want to get rid of the cult. So they work with the constable. He absolves them of the blame, although he does warn them any more lightning bolt related deaths will be treated harshly. And the people who were injured don't make a claim against the group because, again, Terran shorted off a lot of the umbrage they have by showing genuine remorse and offered recompense. The party went through, got some healing potions, and got everything ready so that they could leave town. But they had to. They waited for the holy day to come up for the followers of Clangeddon, which it did, and the followers of Clangeddon went out, and Glim rocked it. He was like super rock star about how great he was and what all the things that he and the party had done. Abor was pretty good, not bad, but not great. Glob was kind of hiding out and using his invisible servant silent images to and minor illusions to kind of enhance their braggadocio. Effectively, too, for the most part, I was rolling rather well for Glob that night. And the only miscast that he made was in accidentally binding up, was it a boar's armor or was it Glim's? Oh, anyway, he was basically wedgied them by accident because he was trying to make their armor look like it was puffed up, like they were more muscular and imposing, and it ended up kind of tightening and chafing and wedging them. So, after the group got through with that, and they re-equipped, got the things they needed, they negotiated for a shipment so that they could look like merchants, because their next bet that they're planning to do is to go and try to bait some of the followers of the Earth Cult. That's their next target. And they found out that these Earth cultists are raiding wagons that are moving along the southern edge of the Badlands, up against which Hamlet is nestled. So they were, more than happy to negotiate, and boy, did they succeed. They got a great deal off of Valavode, the wholesaler. So they loaded up their wagon. They bought some used weapons from Ironhead, the half-orc who they sold the weapons to in the first place. They bought some of them back so that they could resell them in Wamford and also to pass as merchants. They bought textiles and things that they could bring to Greenfields, or Summerfields? The halfling monastery that has almost an eternal harvest because of the powerful druidic magic and service of Yandala that they have. So they wanted to do some trading there. They wanted to make some money, but at the same time, they also want to be a bandit target. So they finally set off. Their wagon is full, and for the most part, the group is doing pretty good together. There's still a little friction going on with Glob, but for the most part, the group is going fairly well. They've moved further along the path, setting off at a good pace. The weather is abysmal for travel. Very hot, very muggy. The horses are miserable. They're miserable. Everybody in metal armor risks fatigue. Only the dwarves really have a good chance of making it for any length of time. And the group meets up with some rangers from Verbabonk. These are the retired adventurers who are now serving the forces of law and order throughout the valley and the lands of Verbabonk. So they're big news. They're actually adventurers. And the group is like, well, we're looking for bandits. And the rangers are like, well, we've killed some of them. There's a number of them, and yeah, they have this symbol, and it's the triangle symbol, which they recognize as the Earth symbol. But now what we're looking for is a stone giant. We found some tracks, and he's mad. He's been attacking caravans and such, and usually we don't have a huge problem with the stone giants, but this one's not good. So the group's like, okay, well, we'll keep an eye out for him. So they're going along, and, I figured that would be the good challenge of the night, and I have a nice stone giant figurine. So the group was going along, and at one point, they rested and things, but the encounter with the stone giant, he led with a natural attack against he threw a rock, rolled a natural 20, and splattered one of their horses because he wanted to stop their wagon. Well, cutting off one of the horses certainly did that. The other horse was stuck in his traces, and the party wasn't going anywhere at the moment. So he got ready to start smashing the party. And the party turned around and started smashing him. For the most part, I tried a few new things. For one thing, I gave out these cards from Bill Webb's deck of dirty tricks. Each one had a minor boon that the player could use at whatever time they want. And for the most part, only a couple of them got used as they start warming up to how the cards work, or there was only the one real combat, so they didn't have a lot of opportunities. So the group started fighting. The rocks that he was throwing would have been deadly, but they got into melee combat fairly quickly. And, of course, Terran moved up. The giant had range even beyond what Terran could with his pole arm, and swatted him a good one, and then swatted him again. Terran has a huge constitution, and he took the shots like a champ. He did end up having to rely on a second wind at some point, but he was in there giving as good as he got. The giant was just tough enough with its armor class and hit points that he gave the party a good fight. I believe he really only injured Glim, who he tent-pegged as Glim came charging up. He had a good dexterity, enough to dodge the Sacred Flames that Glim was trying to drop. So when Glim moved to melee, smashed him down. The rest of the group, for the most part, got in pretty well. Glob flung a few ineffective bolts of fire. He mostly tried to enchant Terran's halberd, but Terran moved up, and immediately the first thing he did was roll a 1, and then just dropped it. So then he pulled out the greatsword rather than bend over and expose himself, and took the greatsword to the giant. I think he kind of looks at it like he has to use his second best weapon since he failed with his first. I don't know, it's a code of honor thing. It would have been more effective for him to pick it up because he's a polearm master, but he certainly was effective with a greatsword too, because he has the two-handed weapon focus, which is a huge thing for fighters. Glim did manage to hit the giant with his axe, but then he rolled a 1 and another 1, which, considering what he was trying to do, he basically stuck his axe in the ground and flew over and slammed into the giant and knocked himself cold, actually going down to 0 hit points. All in all, he didn't have a really lucky day. But the rest of the party nickeled and dimed him. Oric had some nice shots on him with his sneak attacking damage that he was getting for the rest of the group being in on the fight. He was quite effective. A boar got a few licks in as well. He smartly charged in when the giant had used up his attack of opportunity, so his reaction roll to hit somebody moving in. And also, of course, Geth was, flinging spells, but unfortunately, Geth was having a horrible night of rolling. He was throwing his witch bolts at elevated levels. First, he tried a bevy of magic missiles, and that annoyed the giant. Then he started trying to throw these witch bolts that would have done more damage, and he couldn't hit it. Just unfortunate. So, eventually, though, the giant weakened and eventually died. That was the big fight of the night. I didn't really want to go further beyond that for the next encounter. There wasn't enough left of the night, so they went through the giant's bag and they found some odds and ends. Aside from the individual treasures, they found the body of a halfling. One of the cards, the one that Oryx player had, read, "It's Friday, but Sunday's a-comin'. One time raised dead." Did he use it on the horse so that they could keep moving with the wagon easily? No, he used it on the halfling, which is, commendable. The halfling pops up. He's like, "Oh, I hurt so bad," and they healed him, which was interesting because I know they're still pretty badly banged up. But they healed him, and he's like, "Oh, I'll gladly thank you if you can get me back to my home." And they're responding, "Well, yeah, we're kind of going that way, so we'll get you back to your home." He's like, "Good, because I was a retired adventurer, and I have some things that might be of use to you." And they're like, "Okay, that's getting cool." They found a couple of other odds and ends, including some things which may or may not be magic. They didn't have a chance to really check. But that was the final part of the night. It was a lot of drama stuff in town, but not a lot of time wasted. It was just good stuff that they did together. And then one big combat. So, kind of a good night, all in all. Feel like they made some progress. And as they're trying... Oh, they found out why the giant was insane. They found the mark of elemental earth tattooed in his head. Carved, actually, not tattooed, just carved. There was actually blood still seeping out. And it appeared to have maddened him. So, normally giants, stone giant may not be that insane to just mindlessly attack until he was dead, but the party now knows that, yeah, they are that evil. Not that there was much doubt. So, that was the events of the night. The group is still everybody alive, going to move forward. There may be a changing in the seats. We'll see. But that was a game. So I am Rob here in the lair of OmnusI once more, and I thank you for watching, and I hope that you have many profitable and safe adventures. Farewell.